Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
Birds keep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty Boyz brawling, no holds barred bout. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman? You know what I mean?
Tune in the vibe.
Gardley on the mic tonight. News coming in left and right. More better with the latest fight. Gene's got that insight tight. Champions rise and they fall. Wire to wire, got it all. Every move and every brawl. Tune in for the curtain call. Wrestling talk all night long. Catch the latest match and song. Ring the bell, let's get it on. Every story bright and strong. In the ring they clash and roar. New rivalries and so much more. Titles change and legends lore.
What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Gardy3, and welcome to the Meaty Boyz Podcast. And of course, joining me just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time. He is Mo Betta. How you doing, Mo?
Hey, I'm doing great, Brett. Welcome, chat. Welcome, everybody on any platform you're joining us on. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Mo, I figure we get right into it with interesting development. Monday Night Raw. It's happening right now. And that Matt's figure, he's back. He helped Logan Paul attack Rey Mysterio. So, do you think this is a new member of the Vision, or do you think this is just like a hired gun?
I think this is someone who's auditioning to be a member of the Vision. I think you nailed it. Maybe they're not a member right this moment, but I think they will be when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think so too. It'll be interesting to see who they go with. Obviously, the big rumor right now is Austin Theory is the guy, but I don't know, man. I'm really thinking it's going to be somebody like Ethan Page. I think there's a connection as to why he'd want to attack Punk. Punk was a special guest referee when Ethan Page lost his title in NXT, so he might want a little revenge. So I think you could use that as a reasoning. But yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like they're going to tease Theory, and at the end it's just going to be somebody completely different.
I agree with that. I don't think when you're talking about how big this storyline is with the Vision, obviously with Heyman and company, Theory's not a big enough star to be part of that. He just isn't. No disrespect to him. He's been a solid performer, but he's really more of a mid-card guy. And this is a huge story. This is a huge storyline. I would be stunned if it was Austin Theory.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I am curious to see how that goes. We're probably not going to get the resolution, obviously, on Saturday. We know it's Saturday. It's a big day. It is the final match of John Cena's career.
The GOAT.
Oh, yeah. And we got some other interesting matchups as well. There was a North American Championship match, I remember. I saw the result of this one. The winner would win the North American title and face Cody Rhodes. Well, we're getting Oba Femi versus Cody Rhodes on Saturday. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be a great match. It's a great opportunity for Oba Femi to be more on a national stage. Look, I don't think he's going to defeat Cody Rhodes, but I do think he'll push Cody Rhodes, and I think he'll introduce himself to a bigger part of the brand, to a bigger part of the fan base. I think he'll put on a good showing. This matchup for Oba Femi, to me, is his first step onto the main roster. I think he's going to be there sooner rather than later.
Oba Femi is always interesting because I look at him like you probably should have just been on the main roster like 6 months ago. But I'm happy we're finally going to get introduced to him, or at least a lot of the guys who don't watch NXT will. And look, I know it'd be easy to book Cody to win this one, but let's throw things for a loop. Let's give him the Kevin Owens introduction. Oba Femi comes in and beats Cody Rhodes on his opening match. I think that would be the most fun way to go about that match.
Look, I wouldn't rule it out. You know WWE, they'll throw a wrinkle in every now and then, but they don't do anything without a bigger picture point of view. Oba Femi fighting or matching up with Cody, like I said, is his first step, but there's a twofold plan in this. I think he's going to the main roster, which means when NXT, when they have their next big pay-per-view and he's wrestling against Javon Evans, I believe, for the heavyweight championship, I'm kind of a wrestling snob. I don't believe it's plausible that Javon Evans could beat Oba Femi, but I think he's going to beat Oba Femi and become the NXT heavyweight champion, because they don't let you leave with the belt. It's kind of an old school wrestling thing. You either give up the belt or you lose the belt. Oba Femi is going to the main roster. He's going to lose the belt.
No, absolutely. I believe they also announced Bayley versus Sol Ruka for a female match on the card. So getting to see Sol Ruka on the card is going to be a lot of fun.
She's incredibly talented. Like that. Speaking of another talent that to me is main roster talent, Sol Ruka. And maybe this is her step onto the main roster, because I think there's so much talent in the women's division, but I don't think it's to the point where there's no room for young talent. I think Sol Ruka's ready. I hope they give her an opportunity.
It's one of those things, when I watch Sol Ruka, I kind of hope that she adapts multiple finishers, though, because I really can't imagine that the Soul Snatcher is really good for your back. Like, that just seems like a really brutal bump to take for your back. So I know Randy Orton had a lot of trouble with his back later in his career doing the RKO. I'm curious to see if Sol Ruka kind of adapts a couple finishers to maybe try to not go down that path. Maybe save the Soul Snatcher for bigger matches in the future.
I agree. I hope that she adapts maybe a couple of submission holds and another kind of finisher, because that Soul Snatcher, it does as much damage to you as to your opponent. That finisher, that doesn't bode well for a long career.
Say, what's going on, chat? Let's talk about. It's a wrestling podcast right now, but hey, tune into the morning show tomorrow. We can definitely talk about some Josh Allen there. John Cena, of course, Mo, on Saturday. It's got a matchup with the ring general himself, Gunther. Now, at the beginning of the retirement tour, this is one of the matchups that a lot of people really wanted to see. It seemed like a lot of people were excited for it. But now, we're here, and a lot of people are complaining about it. Oh, it should have been LA Knight. You know, it would have been more fun if it was like Carmelo Hayes. Like, you think WWE got this right and people are just complaining to be complaining, or do you think these complaints are valid?
All right, so let me start with the obvious one. You know, I don't like LA Knight. So any complaints about it should have been LA Knight, I don't care. It shouldn't have been. But I understand the argument, and I think you made this point before several times, partner, that because of what John Cena has done in his past, it would be more fitting to me if his last match were against one of the younger talents that are up and coming, like a Carmelo Hayes, like a Obafemi for that matter. That to me would have been a more interesting and compelling matchup. Not that Gunther isn't a great competitor, but I don't really think Gunther competing against John Cena elevates his career any more than it already is. And the fact that John Cena is going out, he's going out the GOAT. It's not going to impact his career. But had they brought in a younger talent, a Ricky Saints, there's so many young talented guys they have on the other roster that this would have benefited. This moment would have benefited. I would have went that way.
After seeing like all the options that they had in the Last Time Is Now tournament, as soon as like, you know, Mello got eliminated, I immediately was like, all right, you know what? Gunther it is. I'm cool with it. I think Gunther's fine as long as they nail the follow-up, because after retiring Goldberg, he, you know, retired Cena, and the only match he's lost like all year since he lost to Jey Uso is obviously lost to CM Punk at SummerSlam. But for the entire year, he's been borderline unstoppable. He's only lost like maybe 2 matches. I think the follow-up will be the most important, because I think you could still pass on the John Cena rub and the Goldberg rub. Like, you can be the guy to beat, you know, Gunther, who retired John Cena and Goldberg. You just got to nail this next part. This next part will be the most important. Who's the guy to dethrone Gunther? If they do pull the trigger, maybe like an Ilya Dragunov or Carmelo, or say maybe a Carmelo Hayes. That'd be cool. But if they do all this to build up Gunther, and then it's like, oh, well, he lost to Cody Rhodes, I'll be like, well, okay, what's the point in that? So I think that the Gunther being his final matchup is fine. I just think that they really got to make sure to nail the follow-up.
No, I agree. They have to. They've never really done a good job of pushing Gunther, but this is an opportunity to right some wrongs. Because you pointed it out, outside of losing to CM Punk recently, Gunther's been unstoppable in big matches as well. We talk a lot about Punk and Rhodes and Reigns and people of that nature. I think Gunther should be right there with the rest of those guys. He's that kind of talent.
No, absolutely. I think he's right there. I don't know, they just seem to like avoid giving him those matchups, but I feel like he's right there. I'm excited to see what they have in 2026 for Gunther. I do think that it would be a missed opportunity if Gunther versus Dragunov wasn't a matchup that they do for 2026.
That's my favorite performer, by the way. I mean, I love Dirty Dom, but when Dragunov was injured last year, I was disappointed because you could tell he was skyrocketing. And now that he's back and he's a fighting champion with the Intercontinental, I love what he's doing with the belt right now. But I love Dragunov. At some point, they're going to elevate him to where he's wrestling against people like Reigns and Rhodes of that nature. I really do think Dragunov is one of the next big stars.
I'd be down for it. His moveset is at times just very basic, but he makes it look so impactful. Like we've seen, like I love his move, the H-bomb, where it's pretty much just like a falling punch, but he delivers it with such aggressiveness and tenacity where it's like it just works for him.
He sells it, man. God, he sells it. Like you said, it's just a falling punch, but the way that he delivers it and sells it, you're like, I can see where that would knock somebody cold.
Absolutely. Hey, another news. Hey, TNA got a TV deal again. It's the first time in a while since I've heard that.
I saw that.
Say, I just want to congratulate them and hope it goes better than the last time. The last, we remember they had a couple with like Anthem TV and little minor ones, but mainly they're remembered for the TV deal that they had with, Spike TV, but that all went to crap as soon as they started bringing in guys like Bischoff and Hogan and all pretty much the WWE retirement home. And then there was the whole Vince Russo fiasco that actually got him kicked off the network.
Look, I think TNA, they're doing something that they made the mistake of, or avoiding the mistake that they made before by not trying to bring in older established stars with bigger names. They're relying on the development of their young talent. And they have plenty of young talent, so they don't have to go to the well of like guys are well past their prime. I think they have enough young talent that this time around on their TV run, this is a good time to be in wrestling, to be a wrestling fan. You and I both wrestling addicts. We're gonna watch WWE and AWA AEW when we get a chance. And I'm letting you know now, I'm absolutely gonna be watching TNA. I want to see my girl Athena do her thing. So I don't think there's a shortage of talent on the roster. And I'm glad that they've taken the time to develop their up and coming stars instead of like overpaying guys well past their prime.
Yeah, I think they've just done a great job being more strategic with the older names. Like the real, like obviously they still have like the Hardy Boys, but they're still getting guys that can go. Like they have Nick Nemeth, or also known as Dolph Ziggler, but also Dolph Ziggler can just really go. It's not. I remember when watching it back in like 2010, and they tried to hype it up like, oh, here comes the Wolf Pack, which was obviously just another form of the NWO. And it's like, well, Kevin Nash can barely move. Scott Hall's not too far behind him. Like, great guys in their primes, but not guys I want to see in 2010. And I think that's what they've done a great job in doing. You can get the older talent, but make sure the older talent still has something left in the tank.
That's fair. Especially a guy like, look, Dolph Ziggler, you can tell. He's kept himself in phenomenal shape. He can still do his old moveset, and that's saying a lot. Look, like you said, if you're an older talent, but your body is in great shape and you can still perform at the level like a Dolph Ziggler can, I'm all for it. I've seen the Hardy Boys recently. I was a huge fan of the Hardy Boys years ago. I think they're a little long in the tooth, but they seem to be making it work in TNA.
And of course, the other interesting news with not technically TV deal, like kind of, but it seems like Netflix is going to buy Warner Brothers, and obviously that's only significant because Warner Brothers is who AEW is under a TV contract with currently. So it's interesting that if the deal goes through, you're going to have AEW and WWE kind of under the same Netflix Warner Brothers umbrella. So I highly doubt. I know exactly when that deal goes through officially. I think it's supposed to be finalized like later next year or early 2027. But I already know that the rumor mill, is going to go flying. Like, oh, are we going to finally get that WWE versus AEW matchups? I would kind of pump the brakes on that one. I don't think they'll go that far with it. But hey, you know what? You can dream, right?
Look, that's what we wrestling fans do from time to time. We have dream matchups. I think Tony Khan and AEW would love the opportunity to do a cross promotion pay-per-view. I think that the WWE, how can I put this? I think that they're a little bit, I don't know, kind of snobbish. I think they feel like, why punch down on AEW or help them in any kind of way, right? Because that's what they think they would, and they would be in some ways. They would definitely be elevating them. I don't think we're ever going to get that anytime soon. I don't want to say ever, but it's not going to be anytime soon.
No, absolutely. Hey, what's going on? 2 words: elder abuse. That's all I'm going to say about that. They have to play the Texans in a few weeks. Bringing in Phillip Rivers to play the Texans, that's just elder abuse right there.
Elder abuse.
But yeah, I think obviously if they could get along and give us even just one pay-per-view, that would be awesome. Because the dream matches are all over the place. Like, look, we know guys like maybe Kenny Omega don't have that long left, and maybe see him get to mix it up with some WWE stars that we never thought we'd get to see, and guys like, Hangman Adam Page, like, that'd be cool, but it just feels like that there's probably too much bad blood between the companies. Like, for the longest time, they're always taking shots at each other. And then, of course, there's the whole CM Punk situation that he had with AEW. So, I say I wouldn't bank on anything happening, but that would be fun if it did.
We can dream. You think I don't want to see Seth Rollins against Moxley? I don't want to see Mox and Rollins go at it. Absolutely, I want to see that. I wouldn't mind seeing Mox, Rollins, and Reigns have a triple threat match. We're probably not gonna get that, but a fan can dream.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Dream match, Sting and Undertaker at WrestleMania in their primes. Who wins?
Ooh, in their primes, I love Sting, but I'm not betting against the dead man in his prime.
I'd probably go Taker, but it'd be a fun one.
I think so too.
That's a match that'd be an almost interesting match, because like, would it even be able to live up to the hype even if they were in their primes? Like, that's just such the dream match of all dream matches. And you're talking about a dream match too, where the build-up going into the match between those two would be so good outside the ring. And they knew how to deliver in their primes. They're both very good wrestlers, but man, even the best wrestlers would have trouble delivering on the expectations. That would be Undertaker versus Sting, especially if you gave him like a solid 3 months to build the match.
And what's crazy is neither one of them needs to have a belt, and that still could be the main event.
Yeah, I was so glad that they didn't do it when Sting came. I was so glad when Sting came to the WWE in 2014 they didn't do that match. Like, that was one in their primes. I think they could deliver on it, but at the same time, like, I was like, man, like 50-year-old Sting and 50-year-old Taker, it's best to leave that one for the imagination at that point.
Agreed. Man, Taker's just one of my favorite performers. So is Sting. I go back to the days where he had the blonde hair, and he's wearing the scorpion getup, like the Stinger splash, that whole nine. Like, I remember him and Luger kind of coming up together. Luger, and I believe it was him, Luger, and Barry Windham. They're like all from the same class. That was a great class.
Absolutely. I can tell you who would win this one. The Rock. It happened. And I think it actually happened twice. People forget about the rematch. This is a match that happened, I believe it was WrestleMania 18. And then the following year at No Way Out, to help build Vince McMahon versus Hulk Hogan, The Rock and Hulk Hogan had a rematch. And, Vince obviously helped The Rock win again. So it was a fun feud. Fun fact, initially, apparently, it was supposed to be Stone Cold versus Hulk Hogan, but Stone Cold turned down the match. So then it went to The Rock, and then Stone Cold ended up working with Scott Hall that night. Stone Cold and John Cena. See, that's what's fun about that dream match is it's just two different personalities, right? John Cena, prime John Cena was very almost Boy Scoutish. He was like a very good guy. He would with some of his promo work, he could kind of dip his toes into the heel work. But it'd be like anti-establishment versus John Cena, who was pretty much the face of the establishment.
Yeah, Stone Cold he is the greatest anti-hero, if you will, in wrestling history, in my opinion. I think he's the blueprint for it. Like the Attitude Era, you had Triple H and Shawn Michaels who were huge, but it was Stone Cold that made the era. And everybody became like an anti-hero. It wasn't the Attitude Era was great because it wasn't as clear as heel face. There were a lot of guys that stayed in the middle or stayed in that gray area. Nobody did it better than Stone Cold.
Saying, it's funny. I think it would be a fun match too, because we've seen John Cena really adjust well to brawlers. But what would be interesting? Stone Cold was unique on the mic. I don't know if he can match John Cena on the mic. When John Cena gets cooking on that mic, he is borderline impossible to keep up with if your name's not like Paul Heyman and The Rock. And even then, he's cooked the best of the best on that microphone.
Well, I think he would start to cook Stone Cold, and then Stone Cold would give him the middle finger and a stunner.
Yeah, see that I do love that idea. That's probably exactly how the promo battle would go too. It'd be great. Oh, Yoko. I might actually, if those two wrestled, I think like I'd give the edge to Yokozuna. I think Andre's bigger, but I don't know, man. Watching Yokozuna looking back at his matches, he's just stupid athletic for being as big as he was.
Thank you for pointing that out. Look, Andre was just the biggest man on the planet, incredibly powerful, but he wasn't nowhere near the athlete that Yokozuna was. I think Andre would be favored to win the match, but I would pick Yokozuna to win the match.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we actually a couple weeks ago interviewed a guy who was able to step into the ring with Andre the Giant. It was a really cool story. Yeah,
was it a fast match?
Yeah. Say Stone Cold has said he refused to work with Terry, LOL, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, back in his day, apparently was a very tough guy to work with because he had an ego, and there's a reason there's a saying, that doesn't work for me, brother. He would get match finishes changed on people. Apparently that was the story between him and Shawn Michaels. There's a story of him originally was supposed to be Shawn Michaels wins the first match between him and Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels wins the first match and Hulk Hogan wins, leading to a rubber match, and then Hulk Hogan wins the rubber match. But then Hulk Hogan cited back issues and said, this is going to be our only match. So, and then of course there is infamous stories in WCW, Bash at the Beach 2000 maybe being the most infamous, or maybe even worse, the match against Sting, which ended up being a total disaster.
What was the match? This is at the end of WCW, obviously, but isn't that the match where, like, Hogan just basically laid down, or was it Jeff Jarrett that laid down?
It was Jeff Jarrett laid down.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett was pissed off because of what they were doing, and Jeff Jarrett just laid down. That's right.
Yeah, and then that was infamous too, because Hulk Hogan grabbed the microphone and said that's why this company is in the place that it's in because of BS like this. He leaves, and then Vince Russo comes out and cuts a shoot promo on Hulk Hogan, which leads to him getting sued. It was an interesting time period to be following WCW.
WCW became like, when they started coming apart, it became like Thunderdome. Every man for himself.
NBA again now, but I love wrestling coming up. Love the Jim Cornette podcast. Fair. Hey, Mo and I still love both. We are got the And One podcast, and we got this one. So,
Jim Cornette is dope.
Say Big Van Vader was a good athlete for his size. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vader.
Facts. Amazing athlete for his size, especially early in his career. So was what is my guy from Jersey, Atlantic City, the big guy? Oh man. It'll come to me. I can't remember right now, but there was another big man that was an incredible athlete. Vader, when you, in terms of big men that were great athletes, Vader's right up there.
Say Bam Bam Bigelow too.
That's the one. My guy. As athletic as Vader was, he wasn't more athletic than Bigelow.
Apparently Flair and Bischoff were able to get Hogan to WCW, and then WCW gave. Look, we talk about like NBA contracts being absurd and all these other contracts being absurd. Hulk Hogan's WCW contract just genuinely might be the most absurd thing to ever like come into existence. Like his agent put that man in the Agent Hall of Fame because I don't know how we got half that stuff. It is mind-boggling.
They gave him complete power, autonomy. Now, I will give Hulk Hogan the credit for this, and I don't know if this was his original plan or it just happened organically. What they were able to do with the initial establishment of the NWO, that was insane. That was such a brilliant idea. The execution, all of it was brilliant. And it's the reason why WCW for months was kicking WWE in the teeth. The NWO gimmick, the whole thing, that faction was working, but they made the mistake that a lot of people make. They oversaturated the NWO. Like, if you watch that all the way through, it actually got to the point where damn near the whole roster was NWO.
Say they'd hype you up and say, yeah, Hogan's in the building, and then it'd be like Horace, and you're just like, come on. I don't care about Horace Hogan.
Right. Yeah, they overplayed it. Remember they had like three different factions of the Wolf Pack, and there was they did too much. At one point, I swear it was the NWO versus Sting all by himself. Like it was crazy. I think Bret Hart even was in there for a second. Like they took a good idea and they ruined it. And ultimately they ruined the company.
Say they had the NWO Wolfpack, NWO 2000, and then they started doing spin-offs like the LWO, the BWO.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask, Mo, have you ever heard like all the stuff that was in that Hulk Hogan 1998 contract?
I never heard all the specifics, but I just knew he had power that no other performer ever had.
Let me read this to you because obviously he had the creative control, but some of this other stuff is mind-boggling. A $2 million signing bonus due within 14 days of signing. Wow. 6 pay-per-views per year, which he is the featured wrestler. A minimum of $675,000 per pay-per-view appearance, or 15% of the domestic pay-per-view cable sales received by WCW, whichever is greater. A $1.35 million payment on July 1st, November 1st, and February 1st of the first 3 years of the contract as an advance of the pay-per-view payment. Additional bonuses of $250,000 or up to $1.75 million based on the pay-per-view buy rate per pay-per-view appearance. 25% of the gross ticket sales for every Nitro or Thunder appearances with a minimum of a $25,000 payment. 16 mutually agreed WCW tapings. 25% of the gross revenue of ticket sales of any house show. $100,000 consultant fee for year 4 of the contract. 50% of net receipts of any merchandise sold by WCW to contain his name or likeness. 50% of actual licensing fee received by WCW involving his name or likeness. This one might be my favorite. $20,000 per month for any period he's in the NWO and wearing non-Hogan NWO merchandise or participating in anything NWO related. And then there's 100% of net revenue if WCW should start a Hulk Hogan 900 hotline.
That blew my mind. That's crazy. First of all, that's crazy. But secondly, you led with it. His agent is the GOAT. My God, man. My God. Like why are more people trying to hire this guy? There's NBA players that are envious. I don't know an athlete that wouldn't be envious of that contract. Hogan got literally everything he wanted and extra stuff just cause. That I've never heard of all those perks. That is insane. No wonder the company went under. They went under paying Hogan.
And my first thought was like, no wonder the NWO went on so long. You're like, you're paying me $20,000 as long as I'm in the NWO? We're running it to the ground, boys.
And they did. They ran it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah, say the only infamous contract he didn't seem to have in his WCW one was the infamous favored nations clause, but he didn't really need it at that point. If anybody who doesn't know, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash had it in their contract where if anybody got paid more than them, their salary would immediately get bumped up to match that salary. So they were always the highest paid base salary in the company.
See, I didn't know that either. That's awesome.
Yeah, I say some of these like WCW perks were just absurd. Like that's why I look at it now when it's just like WWE's like, yeah, you can get like a bus and you can get like a private bus. We'll give you first class in a hotel, but that's about it. You know, and a guaranteed salary. And I think that makes sense because you look back in the day and they were just giving out everything.
Wow. That is crazy stuff. Yeah, I just think on the Hogan contract alone that put the company behind the 8 ball. That's crazy to think of all that power that he had. Dang, that's wild. Between him, Bischoff, and Russo, they wrecked that. They wrecked that company.
Ooh, yeah. Say there's just no structure or anything, and you can do whatever you want. And I think giving the wrestlers creative freedom is fine to an extent, but at some point there needs to be some voice of reason. So you don't have things like, for example, why did Scott Steiner bring a tiger out to the ring on a random episode of WCW Nitro? To this day, who knows? But I feel like somebody probably should have been like, you know what, Scott, leave the tiger at home. We don't need that here.
You know what, for me, the most annoying night was there was a buildup to where Kevin Nash, who obviously is a member of the NWO, was supposed to challenge Hogan for the championship. And the buildup was, Hogan was feeling nervous and Nash was hyped. And so they get in the ring and the bell rings. And I think Kevin Nash starts jogging in place and Hogan like barely taps him and he goes to the ground and Hogan pins him.
They had it's funny. They had such a great thing going into that too, because like NWO versus NWO Wolfpack was actually a fine idea leading up to this match with obviously Hogan and Nash. And then they're like, you know what? We'll swerve everybody and reunite the NWO fully. And you're just like, that isn't really much of a swerve. Like, with how you book the company, that's probably my first guess as to what's going to happen. Like, I'd be shocked if they had an actual match.
Right. Stuff like that was disappointing. And they had an opportunity to where they could have really generated and created a really intriguing storyline. But because Hogan wielded so much power along with Bischoff, it was his oyster.
Between that and just genuinely Vince Russo not knowing what to book half the time. Vince Russo, like, obviously people are like, well, he booked during the Attitude Era. He had a filter in Vince McMahon. When you sent him to WCW and he could just book whatever he wanted. Oh man, that led to some very interesting concepts. There was the infamous Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
Mhm.
We had a 4 corners match where there were 4 boxes hanging around the ring, and there was a random item inside each box, and there was everything, including like a San Francisco 49ers jersey, but literally in one of the boxes was the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, and Booker T won the match because he accidentally like bumped the box, the bottom of it broke, and the WCW World Championship just falls. And Booker just looks pissed that now he has to get out of the ring and go get it. But it just felt like there's so many things that went wrong. But giving Russo a lot of power without actually having anybody to filter him, just was not a good idea from the jump.
Agreed.
Going looking a little forward, Mo. Apparently, next year, obviously, our next pay-per-view for WWE 2026 Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's going to be a 4-match card again. Both Rumble matches, 2 title matches. Do you think that these now, granted, that might work because the Rumble matches themselves are an hour long each. But is it just me, or do you think that I still think they should add a couple more matches onto each card? Just with only 4, like, okay, for like the Royal Rumble, I get it because of how long those matches are.
Right.
But like on a regular card, it just gives you such a little margin for error. Like, I feel like if you put, for example, if you added a couple more matches onto WrestlePalooza and they were actual bangers, then it gets remembered much more fondly. But only having 4 matches and one of them being that awful Lesnar-Cena match really drug the whole thing down.
That's a great point. All the more reason that I'm with you. I would like them to add a couple of more matches. You have tons of talent. You have plenty of time to come up with compelling rivalries and stories, especially in the women's division, even in the men's division. So I would rather them add more. You tell me there's going to be 4 matches, and I get it. Like you said, those matches do last a long time, but will it hurt you? Certainly, it's not going to hurt us, the fans, if you add a couple of more matches.
Yeah, and I think the next year's Royal Rumble will be so interesting because I'll give credit to the ladies. I don't know how they're going to do it because obviously they're going to be in Saudi Arabia, which means they wear the full body suits. And imagine trying to be an Iron Woman wrestling in the Saudi Arabian heat, having to be in that ring for like an hour. Like that, I don't know. That just sounds miserable. So more power to them. They're braver than I am for that.
Yeah. That's going to present a lot of challenges for the female performers. Like you said, it is going to test them. And you may have a few that might not wrestle, might not make the trip for various reasons. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna be honest, Mo. I still don't like the idea of. I still don't like that they're taking WrestleMania over to Saudi Arabia. I just feel like there's not going to be a lot of. I feel like one of the best parts about WrestleMania, like when I went, for example, it's just so fun seeing everybody travel from all over to come to WrestleMania. I don't know. It just seems weird in the sense that I don't know how many people are going to be. You really like, yeah, let's go to Saudi for WrestleMania. Just, I'm not sure you're going to get a lot of international traffic heading into Saudi. So
you are not.
Yeah, I'll let you know right now. I will not be going to WrestleMania in 2 years.
Look, I love WrestleMania. I know you do too. To me, I feel like WrestleMania is like our thing, right? You know what I mean? Like our thing. And I feel like they should have kept it in-house, meaning in country. I don't care if it's in Vegas. I don't care if it's in Philly again, Los Angeles. But I just felt like Saudi. Wow. Look, by the way, the Saudi thing, you know, and I know why they're going to Saudi. Those dudes got billions and trillions of dollars to give away. The money, you follow the money. That's why it's there. But that doesn't make me any less disappointed. I get it. But like you said, I don't think that there's going to be an influx of American wrestling fans heading to Saudi Arabia. I don't. You're probably going to get a lot more pay-per-view watches, but you're not going to get a lot of in-person.
It feels like that if you are going to move like WrestleMania, for example, to another country, which I think it's a fine thing to do. I just feel like I get it, money's important, but I feel like you should follow the passion, if that makes sense. Like, if you're going to do WrestleMania outside of the US, it feels like in the UK, in Wembley Stadium, sell out Wembley. Those UK fans are nuts, and they would go crazy for WrestleMania. That might be the greatest WrestleMania crowd of all time if you held it over in the UK. So it's one of those things where if you want to take it out of the country, that's up to you guys. But I don't know. It just feels like they're sending WrestleMania to the wrong place. I think it should have gone to the UK before anywhere else. In all reality.
No, I agree. I would have loved had it gone to the UK, like you said. Great fan base. And look, I think a lot of people would have made the trip over there to be part of it. WWE made a calculation, and that calculation was get as much money as you can. I can't hate on that because their ultimate goal is to make money, and they've succeeded. I'm just disappointed that when they made this decision, they didn't put more thought into how it would impact their core fans.
And of course, I'm debating next year, Mo. I'm debating about going to SummerSlam. I don't know yet. I'm gonna have to see what those ticket prices are, but it's in Minnesota, so it's like about a 5-hour trip for me. So it wouldn't be too bad. And hey, it's the first 2-night SummerSlam, so we'll have to see how that goes. But of course, I think they do everything in their power to make it like almost like as big as WrestleMania. No, this year was the first 2-night SummerSlam, I believe. But yeah, no, I know SummerSlam next year would be massive. So I'm debating if I want to go to that. Worst case scenario, I'll just stay home. We can have a watch along for it.
There you go. Nothing like a watch along.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be up front. I'm gonna, as soon as that I think work calendar, they soon will have the calendar for next year. I know I'm at least gonna put it off for Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam to do a watch along. So
Like
I'm looking forward to that. We're at least gonna knock out some of the big three, and then we'll go from there. Also, I want to shout out our, good friends over at Brew City Wrestling. They have an event this upcoming Saturday. A couple weeks ago, obviously, we had the owner of the company, Frankie DeFalco, on here. We had his, at the time, Brew City Heritage champion, Rose St. James, which he unfortunately lost his title in a fatal 4-way, but he gets to try to regain it back this Saturday. So, I will definitely be there, and I'll be keeping track of John Cena's last match. It's going to be a great weekend for wrestling.
Yeah, I'm happy for you getting the opportunity to go to a live event. Look, I think what's underappreciated all the time is the independent circuit. So it's great that you go out there, show them support, show them some love, because we do appreciate them and what they do and what they bring to the table.
No, absolutely. There's really nothing like independent wrestling. It's just so like up close and intimate. I remember, I think my favorite event was, I think one of my favorite events had to be, I was actually, I'm sure you remember this, Mo, Game 7 of the 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals, Bucks Nets, in that game that went into overtime. I was actually at Brew City Wrestling when that game was going on, and it was so much fun after to just hang out with, like Frankie and the rest of the wrestlers, because there's like a little bar area that connects to the wrestling. After the event's over, everybody's just piling into the bar so we can watch the last 5 minutes of the Bucks game, which ended up going into overtime. So I remember that was a great time.
That bar must have been live that night.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget. Before Kevin Durant hit that shot that his foot was on the line, Frankie goes, "Oh, this is more scripted than wrestling. He's gonna hit a 3 to send Milwaukee home." And then he hit the shot. I'm like, "Oh no!" And then his foot was on the line. I'm like, I'm thankful that Frankie was only half right that night. But yeah, no, that's all I had for us today. Anything you wanted to add before we get up on out of here?
No, I appreciate the chat for joining us. Look, we always have a good time chopping it up with the Meaty Boyz Podcast. Appreciate your support. Make sure you guys check out some of the other great content we have over at Wire to Wire Network. And also check out Brett and I sometime this week. We're going to be doing an N1 podcast, talking some NBA. So yeah, look forward to seeing that coming sometime this week. Just again, thank you guys so much for your support.
Absolutely. Normally we do that on Thursdays. However, me being the problem child and taking Saturday off, I would look for potentially Saturday, maybe closer to the morning or afternoon, but we'll make sure to get you your updated basketball talk. Of course, there's everything going on with the Clippers are always interesting with Chris Paul.
Oh my God.
That whole situation's a mess. And of course, there's a great thing to talk about too, the ascension of guys like Jalen Johnson. He just continues to stay hot. So I'm looking forward to it. But hey, that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Catch Mo on the morning show tomorrow, and we will see you next time.